So if you are doing more, President, sir, a lot of people talk about tenure elongation of presidents that have done very good work. I know President is already wondering, was that why you going here? But doing more, people say, if this president has done well, let me count. I can count more than 10 federation presidents that for me, if I'm Malam Shehu with Diko sitting down today, I'll say, hey, you don't worry, please, you guys go and sit down, let this person still continue maybe for another 4 years. Your federation as yourself one, badminton. I'll talk about handball with Sam Ocheo, continue. I'll talk about Engineer Musa Nurod, volleyball, continue. Fantastic. I'll talk about Musa Kida. Yeah, let me give it to him. We've done well. Olympics are women. The Tigers have just qualified for the Afrobasket. Continue. Let me go to aquatic. But don't let me just keep selling. But tenure elongation, doing more. What will it mean if you leave this federation at this time? Because I think your tenure is almost going on. Yes, I'm doing my second term. Well, I won't have loved to be part of this conversation, but since you have pulled me out, I'll do it, and I'll say so. You know, I told somebody that unfortunately, if not that I was going to be affected, yes, I would have really come all out, because what we are doing, we are shortchanging ourselves as a country. You know, it's not tenure elongation. No, that's not what it is. Because in the last guidelines of the sports ministry before it became commission, what you have there is maximum tenure of 3 terms. And that's why Igali of wrestling, this is 3rd term. Yes. And you know the funny thing? It was during his 3rd term that he ran for election and got to the world body. Yes. So what am I saying? Look out. There's no Nigerian except Eniton Oshodi, who just won towards the end of last year. He's the only Nigerian heading any continental body. We can't play the politics of sports on the continent when we keep saying after 1 term. Or, you know, you remember after my 1st term, yes, they went to court. They went to court. We dragged for 7 months and coming again. So in 4 years, they even said I should go. 4 years, you come in, you barely know anybody. Nobody knows you. You can't come there to aspire to a position. No. You take the first 4 years to get to meet people. By 2nd time, you are beginning to establish relationships, develop, networking and all that. It's by the 3rd term that you can aspire to any position, because when you get there are people from Egypt, Morocco, who have been there for 12, 13, 14 years. President of their federation. Now, are you going to tell them, hey, step aside, I want to? No, you can't do that. They tell you to go and take your turn. So by the time you are finishing 4 years or even 8 years, and you are going, when somebody else comes, the person goes to start afresh. So that's why, see, sports is about what happens on the field of play and what happens in the boardroom. If you are not there in the boardroom, where the policies are formulated, where the decisions are taken, that's why, look at, is there any sporting confederation body in Africa that has its headquarters in Nigeria? No. None. All of them are in North Africa. Egypt, Algeria, Morocco. Tunisia. That is where the politics is being played. And that's why you see they have a grip. They manipulate the system. They do all sorts to make sure things favor them. But we are not in the room. We are not heading anybody, so we can't play. So we as a country, it's like cutting your nose to spite your face. Sometimes some of us are targeted because, you say you are, especially if you are doing well. And I wonder why it is so. You've named people now. You find that those people, Igali, after his 2nd term, even after his 1st term, he had the biggest opposition even to run again. One would have expected that with your scorecard, people should even be begging you to come and do it. Not that they want to push you out. There's even a conversation now that somebody is saying he wants to become the next president of wrestling. And I know somebody that who has been part of the effort that wrestling has gained so far for the last 6 years, 8 years. I want to mention it, but somebody is opposed, and I wonder, you just came from outside the country. Let me tell you something. You know, for there to be growth, there must be a good system. There must be a good structure, and there must be a succession plan. I can tell you authoritatively, I already had in mind who I feel should take over from me and is going to do a good job. And a lot of times it has to be somebody from the system who has been there, who has supported and has seen it all. So it will be easy for the person to key into your vision and continue from wherever you stop. So, but when you see people coming from nowhere, they've not been part of the system, they don't work. A lot of times they come to disrupt the whole thing. I'm not saying that there are not times that you can have such revolution. I mean, exceptional change and people coming from outside. But a lot of times, if you are not part of the system and you don't see what goes on, and you're not part of what goes on, it's very difficult to come and say you want to come and do something. And a lot of times people come, they want to change what is going on, you know. And for me, it doesn't. President, we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll still look at this same question because I feel if the Constitution says 3 years
3 tenure, and you're just doing 2, is there a provision for the NSC to say, okay, this person has done well, and let's give him the 3rd time? But that will be after the short time, and let's go on a short break. We'll come back. All right, we'll still have the president of Badminton Federation of Nigeria, Barr Francis Orbih, still with me. You could hear the conversation is so much getting to that peak. So, if Shehu Diko, as the chairman of the National Sports Commission, says, okay, you said you've tried to be guiding somebody that, okay, your successor, if you leave, and says, Barr Francis Orbih, you've been knowing people, you've been going to Asia, you've gone to Spain, you've known people in the Confederation of Badminton of Africa or whatever. Stay this more tenure again. Let's give you 1 tenure more. Will you stay or will you go? Or will you say, no, I've had my successor already. I've told him you are the one I'm bringing out. You know, this is politics. It's politics. And politics, you've mentioned, if you don't have somebody in that system, the person coming will still have time to start learning and growing to know people. Will you stay if you are given the opportunity?
Before I answer that question, you know, it's the African thing. You know, when you have somebody at the helm of affairs, when opportunities come and programs come, it will naturally gravitate towards trying to make sure that his country benefits. That's the I mean, so you can't imagine if I were African president and they say, okay, we want to do some technical program, grassroots program, choose some countries where this will go.
Nigeria first.
Charity begins at
home. Yeah.
And there's every reason, and I can defend it because Nigeria is doing well in badminton. You know, so that is it. But you were saying something about tenure. So what I said earlier, which we shouldn't lose, is the fact that the current guidelines states 3 terms.
Yes.
So it's not a question of whether somebody. So it's just that we are aware that some people are pushing to make it 2, and they are doing that to target some of us, especially those of us who are quite vocal. And I mean, I'll speak my mind on any issue at any time.
That's why I love you, sir. Speak the mind.
So
let them
I'll say it. So, but if for that reason you say, oh, they should now make it 2 terms so that they will knock us out technically, it is Nigeria that loses. That's the truth. Because at the end of the day, you won't have anybody up there whose job is struggling here, doing things. Whereas if we have people up there, they'll be able to speak for us and be able to make sure that they influence certain things to be of benefit to the country. And that's what everybody should aspire to be. So, if we say because somebody is saying he's not a a system person, he's not a yes man. So because of that, you look for a way to knock the person out. Well, that's it. So for me, you say if I'm told, actually, I will be. I mean, for the first time on air, I will say it.
Say it as
I'd actually wanted to leave. So I'd prepared somebody amongst my board members who has been very active, and he has seen it. In fact, he was reluctant to say he would want to take over because he saw what I went through, and he wasn't sure that he was ready to go through that. But I encouraged him, and I said, okay, let's do it. We'll support you. It was after that, then there was this conversation from the continent about the possibility of me taking over and becoming the African president. I didn't think about it, and so when it came
live
up,
on KAFTAN TV,
I said, well, if I want to aspire to that, then it makes a lot of sense for me to still be president here before I can go for that. Because if I'm not president here, I will not be at the meetings of presidents who will be the voters eventually. I will not be in their forums. I will not be in their platforms. So eventually, I'll be campaigning from outside. Which will be a huge disadvantage. So I now said, okay, I'll go into some consultations, especially at the African level. So conversations have been going on, especially with the incumbent. I want to know, and he has made it very clear that really and truly, if he wants to hand over to anybody, it has to be me.
Wow.
So when that happened, I now had to come back home and have a conversation with my people to say, okay, if doing another term is going to put me in a
state of Africa
to be able to go on for the African thing, then I think it's better I give it a shot, so that I'll be able to go out there. So that is what has brought about that. If not, whether there is a 3rd term or not, it doesn't. I mean, you get to a point. If you feel you are satisfied, you've done your best, you move on. Let somebody else come and to try. So the provision is there. It was left for me to either decide to take it or not to take it. But for this compelling reason, in fact, as we speak, I'm running for election into the Badminton World Federation Council. That one is coming earlier.
Okay.
And that is coming up in April.
Wow.
So, and by God's grace, yes.
By the grace of God.
So if I'm in the World Council, it also prepares me for leadership of the African thing. So, I mean, at the end of the day, so really and truly, I think we should, as a country, we should not shy away from these things. we must aspire to leadership positions on the continent, because Nigeria is doing a whole lot. I mean, it will be to our advantage if we have more people up there to speak for us as a country.
President, questions and for questions. I guess the lines will soon be ringing immediately. We go on that break.